Welcome, everybody, to Fantasy Football Live Week 8 in the National Football League. Andy McNamara alongside Shoaib. Thanks for tuning in on Sportsnet, YouTube, or Facebook Live, or Twitch, however you're doing it. We're going to take you through for the next hour, keep you up to date on the latest injury reports, weather reports, any COVID stuff pops up, whatever. We'll keep you up to date. We'll give our best bets and answer all your fantasy football questions, or as many as we can get to within the next hour. How you doing, Sho?
Good, man. I gotta say, I gotta share a quick story with you. So after the radio show was done, I got myself prettied up. I made myself presentable to be
Yeah,
in front of a camera, and I came out, right? I came out of the bathroom and I looked at my clock on the wall, which I guess I had not fixed since last night, and it
right.
showed like 11:35, and all I could think of was, "Oh my God!
Oh,
Like,
no.
is Andy doing the show by himself? Like, what is happening?" I ran to my computer, and then I remembered daylight savings time. So
It was
I'm
good.
sure many people experienced that this morning.
Exactly. Well, hey, Halloween last night we did on the fantasy show, which is 8 to
Right?
10 Eastern across Canada on Sportsnet Radio. Our scariest fantasy football moments, matchups for this week. Either somebody you're afraid to play, or a situation, or someone you're scared is going to burn you this week in a matchup. So send those in the comment section too
Sure,
on
yeah.
Twitter as well at AndyMC81 at SNSLE. And for me, my scary situation is in one of our fantasy leagues, I have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and I picked up Le'Veon Bell as sort of the handcuff unknown when he got signed. So now it's freaking me out because they're playing the Jets, but it's like, all right, is it going to be CEH? Is it going to be Bell? Is it going to
Yeah.
be both because the Jets are so bad? So that's my scary matchup, that I'm going to play Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and that Le'Veon Bell is going to go off in some super revenge game and burn me.
So you're not going to play both of them in
I'm
this
not gonna
particular league.
I'm not gonna play both because I was able to acquire via trade Jamal
Ooh,
Williams
okay.
from the Packers, so I'm gonna roll with that. By the way, we'll get to some weather reports here, man. In Green Bay, apparently 50-mile-per-hour winds.
Oof.
They're
Nice.
gusting. In Cleveland at First Energy Stadium, remember they're right off of Lake Erie. Swirling winds in the stadium, and it's rainy and some snow. So that's something this time of year that we're really going to have to start taking into account. What's the weather aspect with all this, right?
And I think the other weather situation I had seen Bills Patriots in Orchard Park. The game is in Buffalo today, and I had seen a picture that one of the Pats beat writers had posted on online, and it was just they have a bunch of flags that stand at the end of the stadium, like most stadiums do,
Yeah.
and the actual flags themselves were straight, like they were straight out. The wind is blowing so hard, so I think
Whoa.
that will definitely affect even without Stephon Gilmore. I fully expect the Bills pass catchers to have maybe not a really hard time, but perhaps a tougher time of locating these balls in these swirling 35-mile-an-hour plus winds.
Well, think of it this way too when it comes to over-unders, when it comes to
Sure.
spreads. What about
Yeah.
extra points, field goals? I wonder if we maybe see some more two-point conversion attempts today because of the wins in some of those
Maybe.
situations.
Yeah.
That's something to keep in mind. Oh, by the way, quick shout out to our guys in Cleveland at Zabo Apparel,
Yeah. Right. There you go.
SZABO apparel.com. Sent us our own Danger Zone picks shirt, our own Danger Zone pick. You can get that at their website, zaboapparel.com. They're awesome. They're comfortable because on the fantasy show on the week on Sunday mornings, we have our Danger Zone picks, right? So we got Danger Zone shirts. Pretty
There you
sweet.
go. Danger zone. Where we live in the danger zone,
We
Andy.
we do. We live in the danger zone. All right, let's get to your questions here, people. Let's go. Fantasy football week 8. Koala Bear. Good morning, fellas. Good morning. Wayne Gallman or Nelson Aguilar for the flex week. I will emphatically say heck no to Wayne Gallman. No. We don't want any Giants players. I want none of them. Nelson Aguilar was on my sleepers and waiver wire pickups articles on sportsnet.ca this week show. Listen, I know we're used to Nelson Aguilar sucking with the Eagles. I
Yeah.
know. We're conditioned, right? But last 3 weeks with the Raiders, a touchdown in each week, double-digit fantasy points, no fewer than 14.1. Now, again, those conditions in Cleveland, they're playing the Browns today, could become a factor. But with all the injuries at wide receiver, Aguilar's become a trusted guy. So in the flex, I'm definitely going Aguilar.
Yeah, I would take Aguilar too because, like you said, I think we've become accustomed to Nelson. A lot of people are saying, "Oh, the guy has hands of stone," like lots of drops, right? But
Yep.
I think for Derek Carr, he is being used in a lot better of a way. Not a lot of competition there as well. I mean, Henry Ruggs is there certainly, and so is Hunter Renfro. But I mean, Henry Ruggs is one of those guys that he like the type of routes he runs are pretty much just deep fly routes. I feel like all the time.
Yeah.
And I mean, when he hits because he's a really boomer bust option, as we saw against the Chiefs a couple of weeks ago, I think. But yeah, I think Nelson Aguilar has definitely shot up. And I see someone else had asked best bets on the board. And one of my favorite prop bets for this week, and I'm surprised it was so low, but the over under for Nelson Aguilar receiving yards was 35 and a half.
Oh,
35 and a half, Andy. I would take the over on that every time
slam.
against the Browns.
Slam that over. Right. And it's a good point you bring up about Henry Ruggs, too, because of the deep fly routes he goes. Swirling winds,
Right.
rain, warm weather team. That doesn't add up to me for Derek Carr throwing deep bombs all day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, Derek Carr, like he's one of those guys too, Andy. We talked about this last week, but I feel like Derek Carr is a good matchup dependent option. And I wasn't thrilled about his matchup last week against the Buccaneers. He did okay. But I fully expect against the Browns, even with bad weather conditions, I fully expect him to be a plus matchup. Or at least a better matchup than he was against the Bucs. But yeah, I mean, the Raiders against the Browns are so much better against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I mean, his question was Gallman over Aguilar. And I mean, look, I feel like you want no part of any fantasy players that face the Buccaneers, basically.
No.
The Buccaneers defense is arguably one of the top 3 defenses in perhaps the entire NFL.
Yeah, going out of last week, it was the number 3 fantasy defense.
There you go.
Right? Buys this week too, folks. Remember, no Arizona Cardinals, Washington football team, Jaguars, or Texans. So Derek Carr, nice maybe fill-in play. I'm doing that in one of my leagues as a streamer. And for DraftKings too, cheaper play to pop in there as a streamer. Let's see. We got James Mahan, whatever, on YouTube. James, you know who you are. Mike Evans or Deontay Johnson. Interesting matchup because the Giants, the defense it's serviceable. They can pop at some point. They're not as bad as the offense. But Mike Evans, that ankle show, he hasn't been right. Like he can score touchdowns from in close, but even versus a tough Baltimore defense, I might be inclined to go Deontay Johnson this week if it's a full PPR.
Yeah, that's true. We don't know exactly what the format for this league is. It's tough, right? Because I'm tempted to go with Mike Evans. And in fact, I think I will go Evans only because they're playing the Giants. And I know this being a Monday night game makes this a lot harder because, you could think to yourself, well, Deontay Johnson, maybe against even a tough Ravens defense, maybe he catches a decent couple of balls here and there. And again, if it's PPR, James, let us know. But yeah, you could potentially have a better day from Deontay, certainly no question about it. But it's just with no Godwin, with Scotty Miller, I know coming in for Godwin, but just less mouths to feed in Tampa Bay, at least right now. Next week will be a different story when AB joins the team. But for now, even with that kind of busted up ankle or something kind of a nagging him there, Mike Evans, I feel like against a really bad Giants defense, he has a potential to be really good, if only because whenever in those 2 games that I think Chris Godwin missed, in both of those games, Mike Evans went over 100 yards. And that was with Scotty Miller playing as well. Now, Gronk has come on a little bit, so there's some danger for that. Yeah, who knows, right? But at the same time, I feel like Mike Evans is a big, fast, strong target. Even with a nagging ankle injury, I could see them using him maybe more over the middle there for Tampa Bay.
It could be. You're right. And if things get, especially for them to try to put things away early, you could always go to Mike Evans.
Yeah.
Joe on YouTube. Morning. Good morning, Joe. Hope you guys are doing well. I am. Joe, are you?
I am.
He is? Okay. We answered Joe. Good. Need some help with some picks. Which 2 running backs should I play between Connor, Gio Bernard, Boston Scott, or Gaskin? I like this question. I'm going to say James Conner. This is screaming a ground and pound run game to me between Baltimore and Pittsburgh. I think it's just going to trend that way. I'm going Connor, true bell cow. Now, Boston Scott versus Dallas. Gaskin, and we'll get more into this. I'm sure there's going to be some Tua questions and Miami questions.
Sure.
So when we talk about Gaskin, he's done a tremendous job. But we have a rookie quarterback making his first start. We don't know how this offense ball distribution is going to look at all. And I'm sure if you're the Rams, you're going to want to try to make Tua one-dimensional, pin him in the pocket. That means you're stacking the box, I would think. I'm going to fade on Gaskin. What about you?
Yeah, I'm going to fade on Gaskin, if only because of all the teams for Tua to make his debut against, and I see a couple Tua questions as I'm looking down the list here. The Rams, they give up points, no question about it, but they are a decently tough defense at the same time. I think it was something like they do rank towards the middle or perhaps the bottom half of the NFL when it comes to points given up and passing yards and so on. But at the same time, they also, I think, are either second or third in the NFL in sacks with 24
Mm.
sacks. And Aaron Donald, of course, leading the way with their ferocious front seven. So they are quite stout against the run and the pass. So I think at the very least, when it comes to Gaskins, yeah, I think I would probably bench him, or at the very least, he's a flex play at best this week
Yeah.
instead of maybe an RB2 like we've become accustomed to. But as for Joe's question, that basically means I'm leaving Gaskin out. I might go. I'll go Gio for sure because Gio is we saw his contributions in the passing game. He was kind of struggled on the ground a little bit. He's a smaller guy, a veteran, an
Yeah.
older guy, but
Banged
he's
up
used
O-line too in Cincy.
exactly, yeah. So they use him a lot in the passing game, and I'll agree with you on Connor. I really do feel like he is going to become the main option today, even against a very tough Ravens front seven as well. And then I shouldn't like neglect Boston Scott. It's not that he's a bad option, certainly. It's just that I have the feeling, pardon me, that when it comes to this Dallas defense, I mean, first of all, they're so bad.
Oh.
So there's certainly the option to have Boston Scott go off. But now that Jalen Reagor is back, now that Dallas Goedert is back, I feel like you might see Carson Wentz have a little more success in the passing game.
I'm going to pick Boston Scott as my second one in this
Ooh,
case because, Show, I see what you're saying with it, but I think the Eagles could jump out to a big lead.
Right.
And you just grind them down with Boston Scott. Like, I think you can quadruple stack at least in your DraftKings lineup Eagles. I want Wentz, I want Scott, I want Goddard, I want Fulgham, I want the defense. I'm going to go 5.
Quintuple stack. There you go.
Yeah, the quintuple stack. I'm going to do one DraftKings contest before kickoff just to make sure I get it in. Of 5 Eagles, 5 against Dallas. And before there's any Ben DiNucci questions, the answer is no. Okay, just no. Stop. Go somewhere else. Yeah,
don't start him. Don't start him for your own sake. Don't do it.
I don't care how deep your league is. There is another option than Ben DiNucci. Okay,
yeah. More than likely.
There just is. So okay, so there you go. We got that from
Nick
Joe.
Foles over Ben DiNucci.
Yep, check. Nick Foles over Ben DiNucci. Let's do it.
Boy.
Scott on Facebook, Goff or Carr? Ooh, we just talked about Derek Carr. I really would like to go Carr here. The weather, the continuing deterioration of the weather off the shores of Lake Erie is making me a bit nervous as far as fantasy point wise for Carr. So I'll go Goff. If the weather was better, I'd 100% go with Derek Carr. But I'm starting to get a little nervous with that weather.
The weather is a factor for sure. Yeah, I think it might be a safer pick to pick Goff anyways, just because they're playing Miami. Again, we don't know how this matchup is going to go because look, if let's say it goes the worst case for the Rams, right? Let's say Tua is amazing and he is competitive and the game is not a blowout and it goes back and forth. The Dolphins have a chance to win outright. Let's just say that's the case. Then Jared Goff is going to be slinging it. We know that, right? And he has been much better this year than last year. And I think on the other case, he does like to dump off things to the running backs on occasion as well. I feel like the Miami, outside of Xavier Howard, I feel like the Miami defense has not been terrific. It's been fine. It's been fine, but it's not been terrific either. So I feel like, I feel like the floor is higher given the weather conditions in Cleveland for Las Vegas. I feel like the floor is higher perhaps for Jared Goff.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with that. Plus, they're traveling in, right? It's tough. Haim on YouTube. Tua or Cam Newton? This is interesting, Show, because Cam Newton and that sorry for your Pats, man. But oof, that is a tumble. You're in Buffalo. Cam Newton, the confidence, like where are they at? Versus the complete unknown with Tua, right? Like he could be good. Aaron Donald could be in his face. I would think for the Rams, what they're going to be doing, if I'm them, like the Dolphins, I believe, will try to roll Tua out to avoid the pocket collapsing with Aaron Donald. For the Rams, you can still have Aaron Donald collapse the pocket. I would think they're going to try to pin him in there and give him some confusing looks. I think you know what, Show, I'm going to roll the dice and say Tua. I think I'd rather have the unknown than what I've seen out of Cam Newton, who hasn't thrown a passing touchdown since week 3.
Yeah, Cam has been, since coming back from the COVID diagnosis, he has been bad. He's been bad. There's no other way to play it. I mean, he's getting benched for Jarrett Stidham in the middle of the game. It's just through 3 picks. It's just I see Heather on Facebook also. She has a question here. Your thoughts on Cam Newton, please. And this kind of ties into this, right? It's just, man, Cam has looked off. And then you look at the other options here. I mean, N'Keal Harry has been ruled out. Julian Edelman getting that put on IR for at least 3 weeks. And I mean, Bill Belichick says he's optimistic that he'll come back this season. Will he? Maybe not. I mean, Edelman's older. Would it be worth it in a season that is likely lost to force your only good pass catcher back into the lineup?
Yeah.
Probably not. So that means Cam Newton today is going to be throwing to Jacoby Myers and Demir Byrd. And look, I like those guys because I'm a huge homer, but I don't know that they carry much fantasy value beyond needing like the fourth flex guy to fill out your DraftKings lineup. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like on the cheap,
And
because
you're guessing.
Yeah,
and you're guessing between those two.
So
could be one, could be two, could be none.
Could be none, right? So, and Cam always does carry a little value with his legs, for sure. And the Bills' defense is somewhat banged up. The last I checked, the Bills' defense had like 7 guys questionable for this matchup, including 2 guys that have already been ruled out. And some of those guys who are questionable are quite important, including Matt Milano, who I feel like we talk about every week. But at the same time, yeah, Cam Newton, I would not feel comfortable rolling the dice. You know, the Bills are going to come early and often and hard against him. So I think we'll go with, I'll roll the dice with Tua as well.
Yeah, just, why not? Give the new kid a shot. It works both ways. Like the Rams don't know what to expect either.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's the other side of it too. Let's get Thomas on Facebook. Do you trust Jalen Reagor this week? I do not, Thomas. I'm not a Jalen Reagor guy. I hated the draft pick. Eagles had Justin Jefferson right there, Show.
It's true.
I remember we did the show, the pre-draft show on Sportsnet on YouTube and Facebook, talking up Justin Jefferson. Jalen Reagor, slot guy. When we're talking fantasy, first week back, I don't trust him. Could Carson Wentz target him a lot? Sure. I'm much more bullish on him going back to Dallas Goedert and Boston Scott and Travis Fulgham. Not impressed with Jalen Reagor at all. I don't trust him. I wouldn't play him.
But here's the thing. So Thomas also says his other option is Michael Gallup.
Oh.
Okay. So if your other option is Gallup,
I feel
like you might have to start Jalen Reagor over him.
With the follow-up now understood, Your Honor, I think we might have to go with Jalen Reagor. Because here's the thing with Michael Gallup. Love Michael Gallup. With Dak Prescott, Michael Gallup is serviceable, but we saw his usage decline. The big unknown, you got Ben DiNucci under center. Oof. So here's the iffy part with rookies, and this goes to Tua as well, is guys who come in partway through, they're not practicing with the starters throughout the beginning of the season. So what we saw in 2018 with Baker Mayfield and Rashard Higgins, who have a continued development. We saw Higgins go off for 107 yards last week.
Right.
The backups practice with the other backups. So at least early on, you see chemistry, you see flow going with those guys. So there could be somebody pop off with Tua we don't even know about. Right?
Yeah,
and with DiNucci, could be the same thing, although I think he's just going to be sacked to bits by the Eagles. But we don't know how Gallup's going to be used. I don't like the question marks. I don't like unknowns. So in that case, even though I don't like Jalen Reagor and I just bashed him for 3 minutes, I'll go with him over Gallup. I trust him better. I'll trust Carson Wentz distributing the ball over Ben DiNucci.
Yeah, and Carson Wentz has been, despite the just complete decimation of the Eagles roster from top to bottom over the course of this entire season, basically, he has been pretty good. He's been pretty good, all things considered. In fact, and like you would for most players against the Dallas defense, you've probably fired them up. I agree with you that all things considered, you probably trust guys like Boston Scott and Dallas Goedert over Jalen Reagor. But if your other option is Michael Gallup, yeah, I agree to go with him. Also, we keep getting asked about best bets and so on, Andy. One of my favorite bets of the day, over under sacks for Dallas and Philly. So for both teams, so for combined sacks in this game, the number was set at 5.5. And I mean, I feel okay taking the over on that. Minus 130, looking at my notes here, minus 130 for over under 5.5 sacks. I mean, It could be like 4 sacks against let's say, Ben DiNucci, and then maybe 2 against Carson Wentz would easily put you over there. So, or 3 and 3, right? I just feel like that's it's more likely than it's not, considering the awful offensive line for the Eagles, and then also just considering a rookie quarterback with the Dallas Cowboys.
I'm with you on that. I think it's 6 or 7 is very doable. Yeah. Another best bet that I like, I'm looking Baltimore as a 4-point favorite over Pittsburgh. I'm taking Steelers straight up.
Same, so am I.
Absolutely, I would take that. I think that's the likelihood of that happening by it's slightly more than a pick'em situation. I would take that. I think the Steelers eat Lamar Jackson for lunch. He's going to get his a big drumstick like Aaron Donald's going to get for Tua's hip, right? Just chow down. You have Bud Dupree, T.J. Watt, who can get after the quarterback. That D-line as well, you got Cam Hayward. They're going to pin Lamar Jackson. They're giving up the fewest fantasy points to running backs. You're going to force Lamar Jackson to throw. You know what happens there? Interceptions. They got a great secondary too. I'm taking the Steelers. I think that's one of the easier picks for me all day. I would take that.
Yeah, Lamar Jackson is averaging, I think, like 190 passing yards a game. And I mean, if that's what you're averaging, and you go up against I know we talked about the Buccaneers, but again, one of the arguably best defenses in the NFL in the Pittsburgh Steelers, even without Devin Bush, I feel like you take the Steelers in that matchup.
Yeah, I think we got to. Let's keep with the questions here, folks. Keep them coming. You can get us on Twitter as well at AndyMC81 at SNSLE. Let's see here. Trent on Facebook, half point PPR, Myles Gaskin or Boston Scott, flex, T. Higgins or Deontay Johnson, wide receiver. I'll go Boston Scott. Again, we talked about Myles Gaskin and against Dallas. I think Boston Scott's the obvious answer, right?
Yeah, I think so, for sure. I think in that situation, yeah, half point PPR. I think we saw against, I forget who they played last week, the Eagles. I think it was the Sunday nighter or the Monday nighter. It was or maybe it was the Thursday night game, actually, now that I think about it. But either way, we saw Boston Scott catch a touchdown at the very end of the game for the win for the Eagles. And clearly they're basically using Boston Scott as like a slightly lesser version of Miles Sanders. So yeah, I think you can definitely add Boston Scott in there and look forward to some catches as well. And T. Higgins or Deontay Johnson, that's tough, man. I feel like because Higgins is going up against a lesser defense from the Bengals, I might pick T. Higgins over Deontay Johnson. But I mean, I don't dislike Deontay Johnson. He's just going up against a tougher defense in Baltimore.
Yeah, you know what? I'll go with T. Higgins as well, simply because, and no disrespect to the Titans defense,
right?
Joe Burrow slings the ball all day. After this game, he will have the most passing attempts again in the NFL. Matt Ryan overtook him because he already played on Thursday night. He'll have that. He's third or fourth in total passing yards. They just keep throwing. Also, you don't have Joe Mixon to run the ball. Giovanni Bernard's a better pass and catch running back. The offensive line's banged up. They're going to keep slinging it. So I just think from an opportunity standpoint, where for Pittsburgh, I would take Deontay Johnson probably as my top receiver out of the Steelers right now in this game.
Right.
But this one's going to be, I believe, more ground and pound, run focused, at least at the start.
That's the thing, yeah. And I think Joe Burrow, I mean, he, like you said, he's not afraid to sling it, which basically means that all of Tyler Boyd and now AJ Green adding to the mix as well with T. Higgins, all of them carry a pretty high value, especially against the Titans defense that has been giving up a decent amount of points lately. And I mean, on the other side of things, I would imagine too, with Cincinnati also not being a very good defense, Joe Burrow will likely have to throw the ball to keep up with Ryan Tannehill and company. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a decent amount of targets and catches in this one. And, of course, he said it was half-point PPR, which makes it even more attractive.
And in DraftKings, you can get AJ Green for $4,500.
That's not bad.
In that matchup. That's tremendous. And he's available in like 27% of fantasy leagues. So if you're in some bye week trouble, that's a nice play as well. We got Heather's question before. Paul on Facebook, have to start two of Gallman, McKinnon, Coleman, or Bell. Oh, my. Ooh.
George Takai. Oh, my.
Oh, my. That is ugly. Le'Veon Bell, I think straight up, I think there's enough room for both him and Edwards-Helaire to eat. What the distribution looks like out of those choices, I think that'd be the most obvious for me. Not touching Gallman, non-factor. Coleman or McKinnon, both of the 49ers. So show Coleman activated off the IAR, first game back in forever. McKinnon, who Kyle Shanahan completely hosed us after the game. Oh, yeah.
3 carries.
I didn't want to work him too hard. Oh, okay. Thanks, Kyle. Thanks for the heads up, man. That sucked for all of us who played McKinnon. So who knows with that one? Where are you going with that? I think if I'm looking at it, I'm going to go Coleman one more time. I'm going to go snake eyes on McKinnon at the craps table last couple of weeks. I'm rolling dice. I'm rolling one more time.
It's true. We have said McKinnon, I think, for the last 2 weeks in a row. Maybe even 3 weeks, actually, now that I think about it, because it was
Shanahan's fault.
Yeah, I definitely blame Shanahan. But Gallman is an insta no, because he's going up against the Buccaneers and the Giants are just terrible. So just back away from that. Bell, I agree with you, because yeah, sure, CEH is there for the Chiefs, but at the same time, if this game gets out of hand, and it looks like it very well could because the Jets are so bad, it certainly feels like Bell will get at least as many carries as CEH. I mean, we kind of saw that. I feel like CEH had more carries than Bell last weekend, and only really because he had one more series. Like if he had one less series, they probably would have been almost exactly the same, if
Yeah.
not Bell overtaking him. So, ultimately, yeah, I'm going to go with Bell there for the first one. Man, that's tough. You know what? I'm going to say in his first game back, Coleman doesn't do very much. I'm gonna take the chance on good old Jerick McKinnon one last time. I'm getting on the Jerick McKinnon train one more time, Andy.
Come on, McKinnon. Come on, Kyle. Let's go. Oh, just give us one little bit of validation on McKinnon.
Please,
Oh,
please.
here's Patrick on Facebook. Hollywood, Amari, or Ruggs. So Hollywood Brown. Actually, this is interesting because you could say Hollywood Higgins, also nicknamed Rashard Higgins of the Browns.
Is that true? I didn't know that.
It is. Rashard, every time he gets a touchdown, he walks the red carpet. He touches his tie. It's amazing. I'm going to assume.
I assume it's Marquise Brown. Yeah.
For the more common Hollywood Brown, but hey, Higgins, get Higgins on your roster. Maybe not for this week, but after the bye, get him on your roster. Baker Mayfield finds him. If we're looking at this and it's a half-point PPR, to me, to Patrick, see if Nelson Aguilar is available on your waiver wires. For half-point PPR, I like him better than all those guys based on volume. If you got to stick with one, despite our disparaging remarks about Ben DiNucci, I think just by volume, Amari Cooper's the best receiver. He's got to look his way. I don't trust the Pittsburgh defense to give Brown that many chances. And Henry Ruggs is a deep ball guy in bad weather. I'll say Cooper.
Yeah, like I said before when we were talking about Aguilar off the top, Ruggs is a real boomer bust option. It's not like I don't think he's a bad player. It's just like you said, with the weather and just the way they use him, you're either going to see a lot or you're going to see nothing. So the floor could be zero, is what I'm saying, right? So I'd rather not try that. And then, like you said, Hollywood Brown, if indeed we are talking about Marquise Brown for the Ravens, I feel like, I don't know. Like I feel like the Ravens just don't throw the ball enough for him to be valuable on a week-to-week basis, much less when they play the Steelers. I mean, the Steelers are so good, and you're gonna throw out Hollywood Brown out there, in a situation where the entire Ravens wide receiver group. I'm not including Mark Andrews in that, but just literally all players that have the WR designation next to their name, they get as a whole, as a unit, 14 targets a game from Lamar Jackson. That's crazy. That is crazy. And then you add it on top, they're playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. I know what you mean. It's not a great option because Amari Cooper gets a serious downgrade with Ben DiNucci, but at the same time, he is probably the most talented receiver on this of these choices for Patrick here. So I'm gonna agree with you. Long-winded way of saying I agree with you, and we'll go Cooper as well.
Actually, to be honest, for this week, I would take the other Hollywood. I would take Hollywood Higgins over Hollywood Brown.
There you go.
For real, I would. I would. He was owned in 2% of Yahoo leagues on Tuesday. He's bumped up since then. I would take that. They're going to pin Lamar Jackson, folks. Okay? Yeah. They're going to pin him. You're going to make him throw. I never like when the strategy of a defense is to make your quarterback throw. That's what they're going to do, and it's going to be an ugly day for Lamar Jackson. They're going to try to run the ball a lot.
I agree.
Alex on YouTube, pick one for RB for Week 8. Joshua Kelly, Damian Harris, Tevin Coleman. Oh, my. Miles Sanders, excuse me. Miles Sanders and Aaron Jones need to get healthy. They're killing me, Alex. Feel you, man. You know what? Like I said, I got Jamal Williams there. So if you got to pick one, okay, if we're looking at this, Josh Kelly offers you the safest floor. And by that, I mean probably 9 to 10 fantasy points. Maybe.
Like,
7 to 10. If you do that, that's what you're going to get. Damian Harris, that guessing game show, how often we talk about it every week. We going to trust this backfield with the offense imploding? Who knows what to expect? And Tevin Coleman's coming off of injury. I think to play it safe, I'll go Josh Kelly, but I don't like any of those options. I know you're in a tough spot, Alex. I get it. I would say Josh Kelly, get your safest floor and try and hope somebody else pops for you.
Yeah, Miles Sanders. I have him in a couple leagues as well, and that's been killing me as well. So I totally feel your pain, Alex. I think I will agree with you and go Kelly here. I think the Broncos do have a relatively tough rush defense, but I think for Josh Kelly too, I think for detractors of Josh Kelly, let's put it this way, I feel like he has suffered from negative game flow for a couple of the games where since Austin Eckler has been out, because there have been a couple of times where Justin Jackson has been used in different ways, and that's certainly taken away from Kelly as well. But I feel like against a more what's the right word? Maybe punchless offense for the Broncos, the Chargers maybe they get ahead because of Justin Herbert, and then they give the ball to Joshua Kelly, or maybe they're just trying to pace Herbert's passing attempts and they use him a little more. I just feel like the game script, the game flow against the Broncos for the Chargers could be better than certainly Damian Harris when you're not sure. I mean, yeah, sure, he could pop, especially if some of these guys are out, but
Good.
Cam Newton likes to run the ball as well. And then you got Tevin Coleman coming off injury. So, yeah, I think it's not great, but I do think that Josh Kelly provides the maybe the highest floor, let's say.
Yeah, it's a safer bet. Josh on YouTube. Morning, y'all. Morning, Josh. Should I roll with Rodgers or Herbert today?
Good
Also,
options.
Andrews, Fant, or Tunyon, half PPR. Thanks, guys. We love ourselves some Justin Herbert. I feel better with Aaron Rodgers versus Minnesota. They played week 1, and it was a sling fest. And Aaron Rodgers has been red hot outside of 2 weeks ago when he got burned by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think you go Aaron Rodgers, even though with Herbert, I feel confident playing him in most situations. Just, you're on the road. Mile high can get a little funky with the weather. It looks pretty good right now. But, yeah, I think Rodgers gives you the most upside.
I think that's fair. I think Justin Herbert has been a QB1 basically every week since he got the job.
Amazing.
And he has been so much fun to watch. I think I really look forward to it. I kind of agree with you. I think it's hard to go away from Aaron Rodgers because, like you said, outside of the Buccaneers game, he has been absolutely on fire. I think, look, if you decide to go with Justin Herbert, I think he'll be fine. I think it'll be fine, but I think you probably have a higher ceiling just because the Vikings are so bad. They're so bad on defense. You probably will see a lot more. I mean, even if that means Rodgers is going to be chucking the ball to Devontae Adams like 20 times a game, I mean, you're going to see some good results there, right? So I like Rodgers, and the other half of his question was what? Andrews, Fant, or Tunyon? Not Tunyon. And yeah, I think. I'm interested to get your take on this, Andy. I feel like the best pass catcher, period, for the Baltimore Ravens is Mark Andrews, and thus I will probably go with him, even though he gets a serious downgrade in playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I just feel more comfortable going with him versus Fant, who has been dealing with some nagging injuries, going up against a decent Chargers defense, and then on top of that, Tunyon, I mean, he hasn't been what we thought he would be after that giant Week 4 explosion, and I think he's also kind of dealing with some stuff as well.
Ankle,
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, injury-wise, Mark Andrews is the healthiest, even though he's going up against a pretty nasty Steelers defense.
Right. If anyone's going to catch it, and Mark Andrews has had a career where he'll get you 20 fantasy points, could get you 7.
Yeah,
right? It's been really up and down, and that's the question mark you get when Lamar Jackson's throwing you the ball.
That's the thing.
So if I was going to rank them this week, I'd say Andrews, Fant, and Tunyon.
Yeah, I'd probably go the same. Yeah.
I would probably go that way. Let's see here. What's that say? Struther Knight. Wow, cool. Struther Knight on YouTube.
Like Meta Knight? I don't know.
I don't know. It's Knight like a knight in shining armor.
Chevalier.
Okay. Yeah. Start Big Ben or Jimmy G. Jimmy G's matchup is better versus the Seahawks.
Yeah.
I can't trust him. I can't trust him. I can't trust the passing game. Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle should get targeted. Deebo Samuel is out, so they should get the bulk of it. I got to still say Big Ben even versus Baltimore, just because I know Big Ben can throw the ball. I know he can throw it a lot. Now, he hasn't necessarily had to this year,
right?
But he can. Jimmy G could against that Seattle Seahawks, but he just doesn't pop enough for me. Like Jimmy G just doesn't sling it. They're going to try to run it all over the place. I'll go Big Ben.
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like we could get. I think Jimmy G will be relatively successful against a very. I think they actually are the worst NFL defense against the pass. I think they are at the very bottom of the NFL, thanks to that big showing from Kyler Murray and the Cardinals last weekend. But yeah, I think the higher floor perhaps is Big Ben. Even against a bad Ravens defense, or pardon me, a good Ravens defense versus a bad Seahawks defense for Jimmy G. But yeah, it's tough. That's a close one, actually. It's closer than I think it appears on the surface. But yeah, Big Ben, if he has to, probably also has a more talented stable of pass catchers than Jimmy G does as well.
Well, and that's the thing too. Yeah, I'm just looking at Jimmy G's fantasy stats here for the year. Weird year. He had the injury, right? So he missed 2 games, or 3 really. He had 23.5 fantasy points against the Rams, right, and then less than 10 last week against the Patriots. Like, I don't. And the only other time he was even close to 20 was the opener against Arizona, where he has 19.26 fantasy points.
Right, exactly. So it's a pretty. Whereas what look up Big Ben's real quick, because I feel like Big Ben has been like I think he started the year close to I think like 16 to 18 points in the first 3 weeks, and then I think he took a little bit of a tumble, including last week. He threw a couple of picks, I believe, but I mean, on the whole, he has been I think he's been more consistent, even if it has kind of been trending a little downwards as of late.
So if we look at his stats so far, against the Giants week 1, 22.06 fantasy points. Denver, 19.24. Houston, 19.18. Surprise bye because of COVID in week 4. Then back with Philly, 21.36. Then against Cleveland, 10.98. And that was in their big win, but they just ran the ball. That was the game flow. Yeah. And then last week, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 15.62. So it's sort of, again, though, if we're looking at comparison, who can throw it better and is going to have more options, out of that one, I would still favor Big Ben.
Yeah, you know what? I'll agree with you. I'll go Big Ben as well. I'm starting Big Ben in my Superflex league, so I'll go with you and start Big Ben.
Okay, let's see here. SK1 on YouTube. Lindsey or Zach Moss standard? Yeesh. Well,
that's tough.
Lindsey is back from concussion protocol. He will play, but he was also dealing with a toe issue. And when you look at Zach Moss, him and Singletary just cannibalizing each other. There's, Zach Moss maybe get you 10 fantasy point show. Like, I don't like either of them. I'm going to say Zach Moss because if Lindsey's just got cleared of concussion protocol and the toe, Moss is at least healthier. So I'll go with Moss.
Yeah, I don't love these options. Yeah, no. I was just thinking while you were saying that, I'm like, yeah, I guess I could see Zach Moss perhaps having a decent day against a really banged up and just absentee Patriots defense in terms of all the guys who are in and out of the lineup. But yeah, man, I guess I'll also go Zach Moss, but I don't love it. I don't feel good about it.
No. We have Josh asks, Ayuk, Claypool, or Beasley at the flex. Ayuk I like, but again, with Jimmy G, it's against Seattle. If anybody's going to eat, it's going to be Kittle, then Ayuk, but the running game is going to be a big factor. Claypool, dynamic, awesome, but we saw him shut down last week, or at least not part of the offense as much. A lot of options for Big Ben, including I really feel this is going to be a running game and focused on the ground, at least to start for the Steelers. I'm going to say Cole Beasley, man, because even though John Brown is back, the type of style, the type of routes that Beasley runs isn't really affected by John Brown. And so if he's in there and maybe they ease in Brown a little bit more, the rapport that him and Josh Allen have developed has been growing and growing. He had over 100 yards last week. I don't think he's going to come close to that necessarily, but he gets a lot of targets, catches a lot of balls. And especially if it's a PPR, you're going with Beasley.
Yeah, I think so. Beasley is probably the best option. Like, if I had to rank them, I'd go Beasley, Ayuk, then Claypool. Yeah. Because, Beasley, half PPR makes it a lot more attractive as well. I don't think he'll necessarily approach the same value he had last week. But as I said to you before, when it comes to Beasley, I do think that, again, like you said, when it comes to the kinds of routes he runs, and then on top of it, he's clearly has some kind of rapport with Josh Allen, slot guy, sees about 7 targets a game, on pace for over 100 targets on the season. Again, half PPR makes it a lot more attractive. If this was standard, maybe I might feel comfortable going with Ayuk, but half PPR, I like it for Beasley.
Yeah, we got to go that way. El Duke on YouTube. El Duke. McKinnon or Hasty? Ooh, boy. So here's the thing. We got Tevin Coleman, Hasty, and McKinnon in the backfield. Jeff Wilson's out. Mostert is out. To me, as long as Kyle Shanahan doesn't decide to give McKinnon another break, okay? If all things are equal, McKinnon's role is more defined in that offense as the pass catcher, where I feel Hasty and Coleman could really split that first and second down duty. So I'll say McKinnon out of that one, but this could just be a 3-headed monster timeshare.
Yeah, I think I'll go McKinnon as well out of these ones. I know JaMychal Hasty was a very popular waiver ad this week, and then that kind of got tanked or sewered when when Tevin got activated as well. But yeah, I think I'll agree with you on this one and go McKinnon, because we at least, like you said, defined. We know what his role likely will be as long as Kyle Shanahan decides to not pull him after 3 touches.
Gosh, -1.
Yeah, you and I could have suited up.
We could have. If you would have put us in your lineup, you would have been better off than -1 for Jerick McKinnon. I'm upset. Anyway, Pat on Facebook. Boston Scott or Dave Montgomery at RB2 half PPR. Boston Scott all day against Dallas. I think on a good day, you can't consider David Montgomery more than a middling RB2.
And Pat says also half PPR. We talked about this before, but Boston Scott does catch passes. I mean,
He
so does
does.
David Montgomery. He does, to be entirely fair, after Tariq Cohen went down. But I just he's now facing a Saints defense that is basically kind of in the same stratosphere as the defense he played last week. And last week he had 19 touches and still only ended up with 69 scoreless yards. So I think I would feel more comfortable going with Boston Scott. First of all, seeing how they use him in the passing game as well, and they're playing Dallas. I feel like anyone playing a Dallas defense, like just like anyone playing the Bears defense gets a downgrade, anyone playing the Dallas defense gets a little bit of an upgrade.
Yeah, and with the versus the Jets as well. Just looking at some updates, make sure we're not missing anything. Dalvin Cook video shown about 20 minutes ago, warming up in Green Bay. He's bundled up, but is set to play and is expected to get a full workload. So that's good news. He's looking good in the warm-up that I'm watching there. Aaron Jones out, of course. Jamal Williams in to the Packers. Make sure you're aware of that as well as we move along and closer to kickoff here. Let's see. We said Dave Montgomery. Austin on Facebook. Should I play Gronk or Evan Ingram? Gotta go Gronk against the Giants. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are playing in the same game, so that makes the decision a little easier. It's not like Austin has to wait for, you know what I mean? Like he doesn't have to wait on another game. These guys are playing in the same game against each other. But yeah, Gronk, I would go. He has come on the last couple of weeks, whereas Evan Ingram, he's still playable. But I mean, against the Buccaneers, I would fade a lot of guys against Tampa Bay.
And here's the thing again with Ingram, the trend all season, he's getting you 9 fantasy points. That's what Evan Ingram's going to get you.
He also doesn't have a receiving touchdown. His only touchdown of the year is a rushing touchdown.
That's it. It's so disappointing with all the upside, all the potential. That's what you get when you have Jason Garrett as the least creative, vanilla offensive player. They don't know how to use him. Terrible. So you got to go Gronk with the targets going up there. Absolutely. Derek on Facebook, Deontay Johnson or Amari Cooper standard. Ooh. Now the standard, that is interesting here. So the unknown of Cooper versus the defense of Baltimore. I'll go Deontay Johnson, man. I just don't trust DiNucci. I don't. Cooper's a better wide receiver, but I think in that route, I think you gotta go Johnson. See if Nelson Aguilar, Rashard Higgins, AJ Green is on your waiver wire, something like that. If there's other options, send us back. Shoot us a tweet if you don't get the message in at AndyMC81 at SNSLE. Tell us who's on the waiver wire. We'll help you out before kickoff too. But I'll go Johnson in that. I'm not comfortable with either though.
Yeah, I think I'll go Johnson as well for the same reason you mentioned. I don't trust DiNucci. Is it possible that given what we've seen from the Eagles this entire season, that Amari Cooper catches a long bomb and for a touchdown? It for sure is. It is. That is on the table. It's on the menu. But I just feel like Deontay Johnson, he maybe provides a little more stability even against a tough Ravens defense, because we know that he has basically become the bona fide number one. I know like they're all very close, like Johnson, Claypool, and Juju are all very close in the rankings when it comes to Pittsburgh, and they're all very talented. But just in terms of who Big Ben looks to the most, who his rapport has become established with, it's Deontay. You
have a better quarterback with the rapport, right? Right there, that has to elevate him above.
Yeah.
From Adam Schefter from ESPN, Rams tight end Tyler Higbee is active today versus Miami. With Gerald Everett floating around, he got a touchdown the other week, whatever. I'm still, if you can't avoid it, I don't like that timeshare.
It probably boosts at least Jared Goff at the very least.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's fair. Okay, who do we got here? Austin, we did that. Derek, Ryan on YouTube. Good morning, guys. Good morning, Ryan. I have a flex spot for Scotty Miller or T.Y. Hilton. Scotty Miller. Come on.
Yeah, T.Y. Hilton is I like T.Y., but he is getting close to keeping him on the bench permanently, or maybe even dropping him. I don't know. It's just, who would have ever thought that? But yeah, I feel like the chances against a rough Giants defense with no Godwin, and AB hasn't come in yet either. Mike Evans also dealing with some stuff. You gotta go with Scotty Miller.
Well, especially with how disappointing T.Y. Hilton has been. You get Phillip Rivers in, supposed to be an upgrade at quarterback.
Right.
Supposed to say, T.Y. Hilton, folks, okay, has not eclipsed 90 passing yards since Andrew Luck was his quarterback.
Jeez.
That's insane.
That's
incredible. He has not reached, I'm just looking here, T.Y. Hilton has not reached double-digit fantasy points this season. Think about where you drafted him, too. Ooh, that's rough.
Yeah, agreed.
That's rough. You got to go Scotty Miller. We're tracking his groin injury issue all week. Looks like that is cleared, and he is good to go. So assuming no setbacks, You go Scotty Miller. Heck, even if Scotty Miller's hobbled, I'd probably go with him over Ty. To be
Yeah,
honest.
at this point, I mean, Brady has to throw the ball to somebody.
Yeah, he's got to do that. Nanny on YouTube. Do I sit Jefferson or Deontay Johnson because of high winds PPR? Great question with the weather. Like that you're paying attention. 50-mile-per-hour winds gusting in Green Bay versus Deontay Johnson. I still think I would go Justin Jefferson in that game. Could it be totally ground and pound because of the winds? Yes. But with how these two teams can go back and forth, I'll still go Jefferson.
And I'll say this, I'll add this on top of that. I'll go Justin Jefferson as well. And I think Adam Thielen will see a lot of Jair Alexander as the bona fide number one target. And if that's the case, that might open things up a little more for Justin Jefferson. The wins are for sure a factor. They for sure are. Yeah. But I just feel like JJ will have the potential for some big plays if he's not being covered by Jair Alexander, who is arguably the best quarterback right now playing in the NFL. Arguably.
Yeah, arguably. Right. A lot of Deontay Johnson questions today, too.
It's true, yeah.
With the bye weeks, yeah. Hayden asks, Ravens D or Browns D?
So Ravens against the Steelers or the Browns against the Raiders.
And the weather in Baltimore is supposed to be cold, but nice. There's nothing I've seen is any sort of wet or wind or anything like that.
Right.
In Cleveland reports out. Now remember, the stadium is on the shores of Lake Erie. I've been in it many, many times. Swirling winds can pick up at any moment. You have rain, you have some snow, messy. That could be sloppy all over the field. Whether you have Baltimore there as well. That is a great question. You know what? I'm going to say Browns defense because the Browns have the sack leader in the NFL in Myles Garrett, and they are co-leaders in the NFL in takeaways. I'll say Browns defense. They might give up some yards, but they have the potential to rack up some extra points with sacks and interceptions and maybe even a pick six.
Okay. All right. You know what? I think the weather being such a huge factor, likely, like you said, I'll probably go Browns as well. Because sure. Are they going to score points? For sure. I just feel like with the conditions being what they are, and then also just the general quality of these two teams, I feel like the chance for turnovers and sacks are high. Certainly the chances for that in Pittsburgh as well, Pittsburgh, Baltimore as well. But I just feel like those are two very good teams that take care of the ball. Not a lot of turnovers. I know Big Ben threw a number of picks last week, but for the most part, I feel like the chances of that are lower than perhaps Derek Carr getting caught by a gust of wind or slipping on a stack or something like that is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it very well could. Braden on YouTube. Hey guys, great show as always. Thank you, Braden. Is AB worth wasting a roster spot for a few weeks until he starts? I don't think it's a waste at all, Braden. You get him. You pop him in. He's going to play next week. Now, there's going to be the question, how much does he play? How much has he worked into the offense? But I think you have Godwin, who is out and not at 100%. Mike Evans still is not at 100%. Scotty Miller's been banged up. You get Antonio Brown, who Tom Brady's been campaigning for. Sure, there's the possibility that the ball's going to be spread around too much. But at this point in the year, you get a motivated Antonio Brown in your lineup, at least on your bench to see how it goes. I would do that, absolutely. And at worst, you know what? Use him as some trade bait if he starts to pop and you got other options.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty... I feel like ultimately it's a pretty low risk, high reward signing, both for Buccaneers fans, Buccaneers themselves, and for fantasy owners. Because if you have him and he sucks, then you cut him and you move on. If you have him and he's great, you keep playing him or you trade him, right? So I feel like that's probably the best case scenario. And like you said, no Godwin probably boosts him pretty immediately as well.
Yeah, no doubt. Tim on YouTube, H. Higgins, Hollywood Higgins, or M. Brown. Oh, see? Got the double.
There you go.
You're learning, Tim. That's good. There's two Hollywoods now. Hollywood Higgins, Marquise Hollywood Brown, or Boyd for flex. No PPR. I'll go Boyd. I think I would possibly go Higgins if the weather wasn't the factor in Cleveland. But I think Boyd with just how much Cincinnati throws the ball.
Yeah, Boyd is Burrow's security blanket. So I'll go Boyd as well.
Yeah. Kai Pie on YouTube. Good morning, gentlemen. PPR pick two. Oh, PPR pick two. Gaskin, Coleman, Singletary. You know what? Even though the unknown with Tua in Miami, I got to go Gaskin. I'm gonna avoid Singletary. I just don't like how the ball distribution is. He's just not producing fantasy wise. Coleman's a question mark off injury. Yes, I'll go Gaskin or Coleman, but that's dicey all the way around.
That is dicey. You know what? I'll go Gaskin and Singletary just because Patriots missing a lot of guys. If the Bills get up early, which is very possible, they're going to run the ball a lot. They're not going to want to risk Josh Allen getting injured. I think they do tend to. I know Josh Allen himself gets a lot of the red zone carries when it comes to the running game, but even though the rush game for the Bills have struggled, I think I'll roll the dice with Singletary. But it's true. Like I feel like all three of these guys is potentially a roll of the dice.
Yeah. Mark on YouTube, pick 2, Ruggs, Gallup, Rieger. Thanks. Woof.
Gosh, Gallup gets the bench for me, Andy. You
Yeah.
gotta say, Ben DiNucci.
Yeah.
We've been kind of busting his chops all show, but I
Yeah.
feel like it's just
And listen, I think Henry Ruggs could easily give you like 2 fantasy points. I do.
right.
But yeah, with the unknown of Ben DiNucci, I'll agree with you. I think you got to bench Gallup. With that being said, again, DiNucci, does he have a sudden rapport with Gallup? I don't know. None of us know.
That's the thing. You're basically like with anyone not named Amari Cooper, because they're going to throw the ball at the very least a ton at Amari Cooper.
Yes, whether he catches it or not.
Yeah. But CeeDee Lamb is obviously still there, and so is Gallup. You're right. There is the potential for Gallup to have the rapport with DiNucci, especially as he was kind of phased out of the offense this year with Dak and certainly with Dalton. I don't know. It's just I'm a little more conservative when it comes to rolling the dice on some of these guys. So I would rather try Rieger, even in his return for injury, and Ruggs as well for the opportunity of the big play versus the complete unknown with DiNucci and Gallup.
Another YouTube question: take a chance with Tua or roll with Mayfield without OBJ? And I actually feel, although as bad as it is that OBJ has the torn ACL, Mayfield's going to be a better quarterback. You go back to 2018 before OBJ. What did he do? Distributed the ball. 10 different receivers had catches. He's a rhythm quarterback. If he's forcing it, it's not a good situation. The weather being said, Kareem Hunt's going to get a real workload today. I'm gonna roll with Mayfield. Just that the unknown of Tua and Aaron Donald spooks me a bit. Could Tua pop? Show like, yeah, he's a rookie.
Sure he could. Yeah.
He could be a crash and burn, or he could surprise everybody and blow it up. I'm going to go with Mayfield though.
Yeah, you know what? I'll go with Mayfield as well. I want, as much as we joke around about Tua, especially with some of our coworkers, I do want Tua to be successful because he was a fun quarterback to watch in college, and he's clearly exceptionally talented. So, and if this year's stock of draft quarterbacks is anything to go by, I mean, obviously Burrow and Herbert have been terrific. So I feel like if Tua is good, this could be one of the better QB draft classes in recent memory.
Yeah.
And I feel like I would like for him to be good, but it's just this week. Let's be a little more cautious, and we'll throw Mayfield out there. Because look, after he went, what was it? He started 0 for 5 with an interception last week, and then came back and threw for almost 300 yards and 5 touchdowns. I feel like again against a very bad Bengals team, but at the same time, the Raiders aren't like they're not that much better.
Well, no, they're near the bottom. I think that have given up the 3rd most passing yards in the NFL. They only have 3 interceptions on the year. The defense doesn't pressure the quarterback.
Yeah.
And Mayfield set a Browns franchise record for most consecutive completions at 22.
There you go.
So just pop, and that was without OBJ. So 73 Aguilera on YouTube. PPR, Adrian Peterson or Tevin Coleman? Ooh.
That's hard. Coleman, I guess, because AP is not great. But
boy, like DeAndre Swift's been getting more and more of a target of workload, right? Like,
yeah.
Peterson seems like he always gets you sort of 9 to 12. I might go with Coleman too. Boy, PPR. Ugh.
And you got to remember too, the Lions are playing the Colts, right? And the Colts are a very good defense.
Yeah.
So maybe that limits just the whole Lions offense. And if that's the case, maybe it might be better to go with Coleman. He might catch some passes, pardon me, against the very leaky Seattle defense.
Boy, and even coming back off injury, that's the thing too. What's the workload going to be like? Shanahan screwed us last week with McKinnon.
Yeah.
What's that going to look like, right? I'll go Coleman. I don't like the situation though. Richie Green on YouTube. Full PPR. Should I play Justin Jefferson, AJ Green, Deontay Johnson? I'm going AJ Green. Full
PPR too, yeah.
Full PPR because again, and it's not the same as with, let's say, the San Francisco 49ers where they don't throw the ball that much. They throw it the most in the NFL. Second technically right now. They'll overtake that today. The Cincinnati Bengals do. AJ Green's been coming on strong the last 2 weeks. I think you go AJ Green and I don't look back.
Yeah, 24 targets over the past 2 games combined for AJ Green. He has remembered that he plays football, and I
Yeah,
think it's a more
contract
attractive.
here.
Yeah, right. Like it's a more attractive matchup for him against the Titans than it is. Like again, I like Justin Jefferson, and I know we answered someone else's question about Justin Jefferson, and I said, with Thielen going up against Jair Alexander, maybe JJ gets some more pop there. But I feel like considering how much Joe Burrow throws the ball, and frankly, Joe Burrow is a far better quarterback than Kirk Cousins, then I feel like you got to go with AJ.
And the weather again, 50 mile an
Yes,
hour
weather.
gusting winds in Lambeau. Imagine being Lambeau Field with that wind right
Ooh,
now.
that'd be
Oh,
freezing.
terrible. In Cincinnati, 52 degrees Fahrenheit and sunny. It's a nice
Is
day
that
for
warm?
football.
Is 52 degrees Fahrenheit warm? I'm a
It's
Celsius guy,
I'm
Andy.
a Celsius guy too. From my understanding, it is not, but like 32 is freezing.
Yes, 32 is cold.
So it's like it's not warm, but it's not raining. It's gonna be sunny for November. You
Not
take
bad.
it. You
Yeah,
take
yeah.
it. Joe on YouTube, Tannehill or Wentz? Wentz, Wentz, Pennsylvania, all of it versus Dallas. You kidding me? That dude put up 29 plus fantasy points on Baltimore. What is he gonna do to the Cowboys? And even the only threat is if they get it by too much, so maybe they start running the ball more.
Right, right.
I cannot say enough about how much you need to get Wentz into your lab. DraftKings season long, whatever, get him in there.
I feel like Tannehill isn't like they're not bad options to have.
No,
Tannehill or
Tannehill's
Wentz.
going to have a good day too.
Yeah,
I think.
absolutely. He is going to more than likely shred the Bengals defense, right? Like he is a borderline QB1, but
Yeah.
I just feel like even against the bad Bengals defense for Tannehill, that's not while that is a great matchup. I don't think the matchups come any better than what Dallas has been doing, right? I mean, defensive coordinator Mike Nolan getting hot sauce in his eye. It's
So
just
good.
been boy, it's
That's
been no good in
amazing. He's like, I'll be back 20 minutes later.
Dallas.
And he's like, yeah, I got hot sauce on my finger. I put it in my eye and it really burned.
Wash your hands. Come
You just,
on, Mike.
it's a pandemic.
Yeah,
Wash your
come on.
hands, Mike. What are you doing? Terrible. What a gong show. Angelo asks, have to choose two of these wide receivers: Claypool, Gallup, Sterling Shepard, Devontae Parker, T.Y. Hilton. Thanks from Angelo in Ottawa. Thanks for listening in Ottawa, Angelo.
Yeah.
So choose two. All right. I'm taking Hilton out. I'm taking Gallup out.
Right.
Ooh, I don't like those. I'll go Devontae Parker. Oh, do I go Sterling Shepard? He's a top wideout. Yeah, I'll go Shepard and Parker. Those are tough. See if
Yeah.
Nelson Aguilar or AJ Green are available, man. See if they're available. Go that route. But if not, I'll say Parker because he's going to make himself available to Tua. You hope, and that they
Yeah.
find each
Yeah.
other again. Unknown. And Sterling Shepard against Tampa Bay. I don't like it, but I like it better than the sort of boomer bust I'm feeling this week for Claypool versus Baltimore.
Yeah, that's tough. Yeah, I'm looking at the list here. Okay, so yeah, Claypool. Yeah, I think I would narrow it down to the same options as you: Devontae Parker, Claypool, and Sterling Shepard. And I would for sure go with Parker, even though he's only gotten 11 targets over the past couple of weeks, 2 weeks for him with 11 targets combined. I think like the trouble with that is that, like you said, it could be who knows if Tua has chemistry with him, with Preston Williams, with Isaiah Ford. Does he throw a lot to Mike Gesicki? We don't know, right? We don't
Yeah.
know. But I feel like considering Devontae Parker is the number one guy, and we know how talented he is, I feel like you're going to go with Parker and with the other choices. Oh man, you know what? I'm going to roll the dice and say Claypool. I'm going to say Claypool, even against a tough Ravens defense. They can be had. Claypool is a big, tall, fast guy. Versus, it's just I trust that more than I trust and Big Ben to get him the ball than I trust Daniel Jones to get it to Sterling Shepard against a tougher Buccaneers defense.
Yeah, those are tough choices there.
It is tough.
And by the way, producer Drew tells us that 52 is 11 degrees Celsius.
That's balmy 11 degrees. Yeah.
Right? And by the way, congratulations, producer Drew. Baby on the way. Congratulations.
There you go.
Yes, going to be a proud papa.
Congrats,
so congrats there. Let's get to a couple more before the top of the hour. Joel on YouTube, Tannehill or Brady, and then Marquise Brown or Fulgham or Henderson, flex half PPR. I'll go Fulgham right there again with Philly.
Yep, agreed.
Rack it up. And Tannehill or Brady. You know what? I think both are going to have great days. I'll go Tannehill versus the Bengals. Bengals can't stop anything. Now, and the Giants defense, while it's not good, they can be a little tricky, a little stingy, right? They're sort of middling when it comes to fantasy points against quarterbacks. So I'll say Tannehill to start. But again, I think both are going to have good days.
Yeah, I think both will have good days too. So, Joel, if you decide to go with Brady, more power to you. I fully all for that. Plus, it makes the Monday Nighter a little more fun to
It
watch because
does.
sometimes you have your fantasy days wrapped up by then, and then you just kind of watch without any fantasy
Yeah.
implications. But sometimes it can be fun to have a guy there too. But I agree that the Bengals, they can't stop a nosebleed. They are just horrendous. And I think Tannehill, like, sure, Derrick Henry's going to have a big day too, but I think looking how good AJ Brown has been, Corey Davis has popped a little bit in his return from the COVID list. John Smith is still there. He is a very talented. I used the word stable before of pass catchers, and I think he'll be a good choice against the Bengals for sure.
We'll do a quick overtime one here. Last question of the day. Brolo on YouTube. Boston Scott or James Conner? I think both are going to have nice afternoons or evenings. I'll say Boston Scott against Dallas again. Just volume. Dallas stinks. Just keep loading up your Eagles, folks. If you have a question this way, if you're in doubt, play the Philly player.
Yeah, look,
Is
we had
that
that
fair?
Rieger Gallup question before. Yeah, you go Rieger there. I'm going to go Boston Scott here, even though James Conner is a focal point of the Pittsburgh
Yeah.
offense. I'll go Boston Scott as well. Do we have time for best bets, or do we have squeeze a couple in?
That's it. You know what? Squeeze a couple quick ones in, show.
Okay, cool. I have my list in front of me here. Survivor. I'm going. I can't go away from the Chiefs this week. They're playing the Jets. They're not going to lose. That would be the biggest upset maybe of the last 5 years if the Chiefs lose this week. So pick the Chiefs in your Survivor pool. My lines that I like. You already mentioned Pittsburgh +4 over Baltimore. Win straight up. I like that. I like Tampa Bay to win. I know 12.5. That's sometimes the double digit. The lines, the spreads can get a little dicey, but I like Tampa Bay to win by more than 12.5 points over the Giants on Monday night. KC -20. Again, that's a tough ask, but the Giants are so punchless. I like that.
Light them
And
up.
the Browns -1 over the Raiders. I like the Browns to win straight up as well. I mentioned the two prop bets: Nelson Aguilar over 35.5 receiving yards and over 5.5 sacks for Dallas Philly. I also like an anytime Josh Allen touchdown for the Bills +188 for a rushing touchdown. I like
A
that as
rushing
well.
touchdown. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
And if you already used the Chiefs in Survivor, you could go Philadelphia. You probably
yeah,
haven't
that's a good
used them
one.
yet because the
Yeah,
NFC East has been so bad. Go Philly against Danucci
or the Bucks too against
or
the
the Bucks.
Giants.
So Chiefs, Bucks, Eagles for your Survivor pool if you need help there. And hey, again, thanks to our guys at
Yeah, for sure.
zaboapparel.com for the
Great.
Danger Zone shirts. Love it. Good stuff, show. Enjoy the games, buddy.
Yeah, good luck, man. Good luck to your teams and good luck to your
Absolutely.
Browns too.
Thank you. Good luck to your Patriots. It's going to be a little dicey. But
Actually.
anyway, for producer Drew, for show, I'm Andy. You've been watching Fantasy Football Live on Sportsnet.